How are you doing, Cali Crowd? Easily the most popular question that I get on this channel is a workout routine for somebody beginning in calisthenics. And the next video on Cali To The Crowd will be on exactly this topic. So what a beginner routine for calisthenics should look like. That will be out soon, so definitely make sure you smash subscribe and ring the bell as well so you don't miss out on that video. But today we're going to be walking through the 6 principles that every newbie calisthenics athlete should be thinking about when they get started. These 6 principles govern how newbies to the world of calisthenics and these gravity-defying skills should train in order to build a solid foundation, a solid base of strength. Because that's what the early life of a calisthenics athlete should really be about. It's very easy to get caught up in the skills that you want to learn, but ultimately gaining the control and building the strength over our bodies is going to be what allows us to grow as calisthenics athletes. So jumping straight into it and getting into the principles of what a calisthenics beginner should really be looking into, we have principle number 1, which is prioritizing the quality of movement over skills. A lot of people, myself included, got into calisthenics because we saw somebody performing something ridiculous, a skill of real strength or mobility, and before we knew it, we were sucked into living the muscle up life or the planche life or the handstand life. Tempering your need to tick off skills and focusing on simply moving well will not only save you a world of pain, but will fast track your progress. Moving well is so vague though, so what do I actually mean by this? Well, it means different things for different movements, but innately we ultimately know what quality movement looks like. In the same way that deep down we know when we've cheated ourselves out of a rep or taken a shortcut to a particular movement pattern. Take the push-up for example, where quality movement could literally mean deliberately moving through a full range of motion. So are we cheating ourselves out of reps, or are we fully going as low as we can go before pushing ourselves back up? Are we consciously engaging our core? And are we aware of the muscles that aren't even the prime movers in this movement? So are we locking out our legs, for example? Ultimately, quality is always going to be what brings you the win. The second principle is understanding that we should be pushing as much as we're pulling. You should push as much as you pull. This is a fundamental principle that will allow you to build strength in a really well-rounded way. In the world of calisthenics and the skills we hope to achieve, you seldom do one without the other. And when I say push as much as you pull, I don't mean that literally. The amount of weight that you shift with either might differ, but the amount of time we take focusing on each should really be very evenly spread. Pushing and pulling can be broken down further into vertical and horizontal subsets, where the muscles that we work vary based on what we're doing. Again, take the push-up, a great exercise. It works different but equally important muscles to, say for example, the dip. One is a horizontal pressing movement and one is vertical. And we can go even further when we consider our position relative to those movements. For example, take the pike push-up. Still a vertical pressing movement, but now we have to factor in the overhead component. With pushing and pulling, you'll probably find that you naturally lean towards one more than the other. And one of these movement types will feel easier for you. So let me know in the comment section, which one are you? Are you a pusher or are you a puller? It should also be noted that focusing on one and not the other exposes you to dysfunction, which is just a stepping stone to injury. You often see this when somebody comes into the world of calisthenics looking to learn one move in particular. Say for example the pull-up, and they train and train and train and perform pulling movements after pulling movements, and then they wonder why they have shoulder pain or back pain or why they hunch over. Working on both will not only make you a better athlete but a better mover as well. This leads me on to the next calisthenics principle, which is the development of straight arm strength. A lot of the skills that we aspire to get under our belt when we start our calisthenics journey require a decent amount of strength while keeping the arms straight. What this means is that we're not only locking out the elbows under load, but we're also needing to stabilize the scapula under very mechanically disadvantageous positions. As a beginner, this can be very difficult to get your head around, but there are very simple exercises that will allow us to grasp what this means, and exercises that will allow us to become familiar with the muscles involved with movements like this. The scapular pull-up is a really great example of an exercise that provides really great value in this area. Here it is extremely tempting to bend the arms. As well as this, you have to get used to getting your shoulders from relaxed and elevated to squeezed, retracted and depressed. It's a change that we'll need to get used to if we're going to be able to build strength in these stabilizer muscles. The fourth principle is the development of new movement patterns. Okay, so you're in the gym, you've just seen someone do a muscle up or a handstand push up, and your mind was blown, and now you want that. The first thing you'll have to understand is that this is a new way of moving for you and likely going to be a new way of you interacting with your body. And the route to getting to that end point of planches, unicorns, and rainbows is not going to be direct. For us to get used to doing these movements, we're going to have to break them down into their component parts, spend quality time performing those progressions, and once we've earned it, get to that next level. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that working in the 8 to 12 rep ranges allows us to build hypertrophy, so muscle size. But there's also a lot of evidence that suggests that in that range, we also build the neurological pathways that allow us to program in efficiency in new movement patterns. When it comes to skills, it's about exposing yourself to that skill as much as possible again and again and again, with the idea that quality is the main goal. Really focusing on the task at hand will cement the application of strength in these new ways that you're trying to move. The fifth principle worth mentioning is skill work itself. With the first principle, we spoke about how we really need to prioritize moving well over skills, but ultimately, if we want to learn how to do skills, we're going to have to do skills. This is backed up by the said principle, right? So specific adaptation to imposed demands. But what I'm talking about here with principle number 5 is more around when we focus on doing skill work. The recommendation is always that skill work should be done at the beginning of a training session when you're least tired. Because when fatigue sets in, that's when you're going to start making mistakes and the quality will fall. When developing something like a handstand or a specific isometric technique, say for example like the L-sit, these don't take a huge toll physically. So starting a session with a high quality version of whatever progression you are at that moment in time will allow you to grow a whole lot faster than if you threw it in at the end of a workout a bit dismissively. And last but not least, we have the final principle, which is prehabilitation. Calisthenics places a lot of stress on our bodies. Some of our joints may have never been exposed to this level of stress before, and without making sure that we're doing the work to keep them safe, we will hamstring ourselves. Pun definitely intended. Prehabilitation is the umbrella term for the focus on exercises and actions designed to offset this stress that we are placing on our bodies and condition ourselves so that next time we can get on with placing our body under the stress that we need in order to place our bodies in a position to achieve great results and super compensate. This can include increasing our range of motion, building up strength in antagonist muscles to the ones we're looking to develop, myofascial release, so foam rolling and self-massage, or even something as simple as ensuring we're getting sufficient rest between sessions. We are only as strong as our weakest link, and so prehabilitation is definitely something that we need to prioritize. And just because I'm feeling generous, I have one final tip for you guys, and it's on the fact that all of this, the things that we do within our time in the gym and our time working on building strength, is only a fraction of the wider picture. Ensuring you're educated on what it is that you're actually doing, eating well, getting enough sleep, all of that will ultimately come together to bring you towards being a better athlete. The fact is, when it comes to fitness, there's so many things we need to juggle. And when it comes to calisthenics, it is a really deep rabbit hole. But by understanding the principles that we've gone through today, we can at least not make that journey harder for ourselves. But I want to know what you think. Is there anything I've mentioned today that's been new? Is there anything that I've mentioned today that has already been ticked off by you and you're already applying today? Guys, let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.